Good evening.
Yes, my Lord and Empress, blessed love, and give thanks for life and the mighty life giver. Holy Emmanuel I, Selassie I, Jah, Rastafari.
Rastafari.
Yes, give thanks for everyone's presence here with us. This is the African Liberation Network, and I am the host, Honorable Prophet Daniel. And we have a very special guest with us tonight. I'll give a proper introduction. Just 1 second. Her name is Honorable Empress Marina M. Blake, and she is a member of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress, the Bobo Ashanti House or Mansion, headquartered in Jamaica, where she lived for a few years in the early 1980s after leaving New York to settle there. Empress Marina and her family returned to New York in 1983. Empress Marina is a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a lawyer, and a business owner. She's a member of the Women's Freedom Liberation League of the Bobo Ashanti Mansion and a member of the Haile Selassie I Foundation for Law and Society. She's a member of the Empress of Zion organization, a member of the Rastafari Council of Ghana, an honorary member of the Rastafari Continental Council, and a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. Empress Marina splits her time between New York and Ghana, where she has a home, a farm, and other business interests. Empress Marina recently acquired Ghanaian citizenship and intends to retire to Ghana soon. Empress Marina enjoys reading, doing crosswords, playing word games, and spending time with her grandchildren. So give thanks and glorify for the mother of the big family. Glad to have you with us, Honorable Empress Marina.
Thank,
Welcome to the African
thank you.
Liberation Network. Yes,
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me.
my pleasure. It's our pleasure. Give thanks. Tonight's, reasoning interview will be about entrepreneurship and repatriation, to Africa for Black people in the West. So, without further ado, let's go right into it. Honorable, would you first give us a little, story about your experience as a Black woman, a Bobo Ashanti, who's, a lawyer, entrepreneur, business owner, all of these things, highlight any challenges you've had, any obstacles you've had, how you overcame them, your successes, just kind of give us some insight into your journey as a Black woman, a Rastafari woman, in the business world.
All right. Well, I let me first begin by saying how I came to Rastafari. I met my kingman back in the 70s, and he started culturing me about Rastafari. I had heard Rastafari culture before, but from afar. I'd never examined it, up close. And then I met my kingman and he started culturing me about Rastafari. And then in particular, he introduced me to Baba Shanti, the Baba Shanti, culture. And it was particularly appealing to me because it seemed disciplined, it seemed streamlined, it seemed not, completely inconsistent with what we had grown up with in terms of, spirituality or religion, and so it had an appeal, as I said, because it was disciplined. As one brethren always used to say, is that it is you know it is someplace you can take your mother, you can take your parents, and they would feel somewhat at home. Although the concept of Haile Selassie as God maybe would be certainly be new to them and may even be repugnant on some level, but the general organization, of the Bobo Shanti House, the way it's run, and the principles that it promoted, that would certainly be familiar to your parents, and so it was not such a it was sort of buffer shock, of the more basic and fundamental theories of Rastafari, which is the divinity of His Majesty. So that is how I came to Rastafari culture, and then within a few years, we left New York and we went to the Baba Shanti Foundation to live in Jamaica. We were there a few years before we returned to New York. Rastafari appealed to me because I saw the injustices. I saw the injustices that Black people were faced in the United States. It wasn't as apparent to me in Jamaica, but maybe because I came to the United States when I was a young teenager, and so I wasn't as while in Jamaica growing up, I wasn't attuned to racism and discrimination and such the way I became attuned to it here in the United States. And so I saw the injustices, I saw the partiality, I saw the oppression of the system here in the United States. And so, Rastafari culture came to me at the right time. And then I said, and in the right form. And so there I was, yes. And so I signed on, so to speak. After we returned from the foundation and came back to New York, my husband, was forced to leave the foundation under less than auspicious, circumstances, and so there was a bit of very, disappointment. There was some very, huge disappointment in the way things had gone because we were well-meaning, and I know my husband was well-meaning about the culture. And then I came back to the United States, and I needed to work, and so I started. I wore a wig over my dread. My dreads weren't that long at that time, and so I was able to wear a wig over my dreads to find work because I had been trying to find certain type of work in offices, and I was unable back in the early 80s to find work with dreadlocks. It's not what it is today. It's much more open, much more liberal today. But back then, there was not a lot of tolerance for dreadlocks, and so I was forced to wear wigs for quite some time. And then I eventually cut my dread, and I worked and we saved and we bought a house and so forth and so on. And here we are now. I started, growing my dreads again, many years ago. And then, I had, then I was diagnosed with cancer in 2005, and I overcame that largely because I lost my dread again because of the chemotherapy that I was taking. But then I stopped the chemotherapy after 2 sessions, and then I went to Africa, and I stayed there several months, and my husband fed me on just, natural, just juices, largely juices. And within several months, I was as good as new. And that was in 2005. And so, fast forward to to now, and I remain cancer free. And yes, so that sort of yes, give you some background and some context.
Well, how did you end up getting into business for yourself as a lawyer, and even law school? Did you have any, challenges being a Rastafari woman, a Black woman? Yeah,
Right. So I didn't really have any challenges in law school as a Black woman. It's something that I gravitated towards the law. A friend of mine encouraged me to go to law school. I used to work for an Italian bank. It wasn't a commercial bank. It was an investment bank. And so, right, so we didn't have, customers walking in. It's not that type of a bank. And but I met someone there, and he was going to law school, and he actually encouraged me. He saw something in me, I suppose. He was one of the lending officers. And he said to me, he called me one day, and he's, over, and he was talking to me, and he said he saw some qualities in me, and he thinks that I would be a good attorney. No, I had never aspired to that. That was never my ambition. In fact, I wanted to be a journalist because I love words and I love to write. And I know that I have strong writing skills. And so I thought that I would parlay that into a profession in, journalism. But this person pointed me in another direction. And, and there it is. I followed that. I followed that advice, and I started, inquiring more about the law. And then I discovered that I did love the law. And so, yes. And, so, then I applied to law schools. I got into several law schools, but Fordham University School of Law offered me a nice scholarship package. And so that's the one I took up. And then, I attended, school there. And then after I was graduated, I started working for a small law firm, and few years there. And then it was my husband actually who persuaded me, who encouraged me, and said to me, Marina, you really ought to try to branch out on your own so you can have more autonomy, more freedom, more control of your time. And in fact, he funded it. He gave me the finances to fund the opening of my law practice, which I did in 1999. I went out on my own. The rest is history. However many years later, I'm still going strong and in fact stronger.
Awesome. Yes. And so now going from transitioning, I mean, I'm an entrepreneur myself.
Yes.
So I would ask, for you to explain like the transition from working for a firm to going and owning your own firm. I mean, I know there's a lot of different tasks, it's a different type of thing working and having a business as opposed to just doing law. So was that an easy transition for you to make? And, you could just speak a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, the practice of law in and of itself is quite demanding. You have to stay up, on top of your game. You have to, please your clients. And then you have to run a business. Not only must you know your trade, but you also must learn to run a business. And I had no business background, so I had to learn on the job. And so you're doing everything. And at that time, I was by myself with one secretary. And so I was working long hours. There were many times where I said, oh my God, what did I get myself into? I was working very long hours. I was having to do, as I said, not just practice law, but also to run a business, to do accounting, to make sure I'm keeping up with my taxes. I did have an accountant that I saw maybe twice a year or so, but in large part, I was doing everything. And so I would work very long hours, sometimes, leaving, getting into office quite early and not leaving until very late at night, maybe 7, 8, 9 o'clock. And remember, I had children at that time. I had young children. And so it was a strain on me. There were times when I looked in the mirror and saw myself, and I looked haggard. I looked drawn. I just looked stressed out. And I really was. And it was reflecting in my appearance. And yes. And so it is, it is not an easy task to go out on your own. But if you can persevere, if you are committed, if you're dedicated. I went periods of time when I didn't shop about 2 years for myself. I did no shopping for myself. I made great sacrifices, cutting corners and saving and doing all of this and all of that, just to make ends meet. And yes, and as I said, I persevered and it paid off. My husband, I must once again give him credit because he was very supportive in that. Very supportive in that. And at one point, then no, I branched out. I became a landlord. My husband gave me some money, and then I had saved up some money on my own. And by this time, my husband and I actually we were not living together. We were living apart. Yeah, to be honest. But he was always very much interested in what I was doing and in supporting me, because even while I was going to law school, he supported me. He got someone. He bought me a car. It was a used car. It wasn't a new car. And he got me a woman, an elderly woman by the name of Peggy, an old woman. I mean, she was about in her 60s, 70s at that time. And he brought her into the house to help me with the children so that I could focus on my studies. And because he told me to stop working, because my intention was to work part-time and then to go to law school part-time. And he said no. He said I should stop working and I should go full-time, and then that he would supplement me. He would give me the money so that I could focus on my lessons, and he also gave me someone in the house to take care of the children so that I could fully devote myself to my studies. So I must give him credit for that. And I always remember that. He was very, very supportive, because he realized that in building me up, so I'm saying in supporting me and building me up, he was helping his children, right? Not just me and his children, and also himself, right? Because at the end of the day, whether or not he's a direct beneficiary, he certainly is a residual benefit beneficiary of, whatever, I have accomplished, with his help. And then, as I said, he gave me some money once, at one point, and I had saved some money of my own, and then I bought some rental units down in Florida. We were living in New York, and I bought a rental unit, two rental units, which consisting of four, yeah, two rental properties, sorry, consisting of 4 units, and I rented them out. I was renting them out and collecting, the rent, and then paying the mortgage, and then having some leftovers. So that was my first foray then outside of law and entrepreneurship, yeah, so to speak. That was the first thing I did outside
Well,
of.
great. Yes, that's a inspiring story. It shows to me the value of family, the value of having a partner who sees something in you, who's willing to support you. It shows the value of sacrificing, going through, say, harder time, working hard, having discipline, and then, it paying off, and it really is just a testament of how strong a Black family can be if they're on the same page and supporting each other, working together, for the benefit of all involved. Yeah, so, give thanks for sharing.
Yes, and I
And
let me go on to say that at that time, I'm going to get even more personal. As I said, we were not together, and he was actually living with someone else, somewhere else. And but he was still very. I wasn't really speaking to him, but he always, he always made sure that certain things were going right for me. In fact, sometimes he would, he knows that I like escovitch fish, and he would escovitch fish and send it to me FedEx. Um,
FedEx, for real?
FedEx,
Wow.
absolutely. Yes, he would rough it and send it to me FedEx. And people said to me, "You're gonna take the fish from him, and you're and speaking to him." I'm like, "Yeah, I love escovitch fish." He knows that.
Wow. Awesome. Yes, I.
So yeah, but he knew that he had to build me up. There's no way that because if he were not to do so, then his children would suffer the consequence.
Right.
So
Yes,
yeah,
I.
so I'm glad that he had the presence of mind and the foresight and the maturity, to do what he did. And that's why I will never forget it. I always remember that. I always remember how much he supported me, even as I met, I remember some of the things, the less pleasant experiences between us. But you can't allow the perfect to become the enemy of the good. So
Mm,
yes, you have to put things into perspective and move on,
yeah.
as I say, for the benefit of not just yourself, but your children, the family, the Rastafari community, and the Black race. So we have to make decisions. We have to try to be mature enough and to make decisions that in the long run it's going to be a net benefit. Sometimes people make decisions out of rash decisions, out of emotion. Brethren trying to hurt their empress trying to hurt their brethren, and they're not looking at the bigger picture. Sometimes you gotta take one for the team. Sometimes you gotta take one for the team. Prophet Daniel, I could have hurt my husband, but I couldn't hurt my husband without hurting my children. And so I held my corner. I couldn't
Understood.
hurt my husband without hurting my kids, because after all, he's their father and they love him,
Hmm.
irrespective of what's going on between the two of us. They love their father. So I couldn't hurt him without hurting them. If I'd hurt him, I would have hurt them, and I would have damaged them psychologically. And I was not going to do that.
We'll give thanks for, having that understanding and, restraining yourself. But, thank you for sharing, because that really is an inspirational story. And it would make, everyone who's watching kind of reflect and think of, if you're going to be married, that's the type of, you know, love and determination you have to have, and the resolve to do what's best for the family. So I give thanks that you shared that, Empress. And going forward, I would love to ask you, you kind of, um, got into it a little bit, but like some of the benefits of making the sacrifices that you made. How did it pay off? How was it better to be an entrepreneur? Was it better to be an entrepreneur? And if so, how was being an entrepreneur better than being an employee for someone else? What, how did it make your life better?
Well, as I said, initially, it was quite demanding. I was wearing several hats, and I was working longer hours than I had worked when I was an employee of another a law firm. But I knew that at some point I would they would light. I would see light at some point, and I kept going with that in mind. And so eventually I did. Things started to get easier. I was able to hire more help and lighten my load. And then the children, obviously they're growing up in the meantime. And my eldest son, I steered him into law, and he liked law, and so he followed that path, my path. And then now my daughter, who's youngest, she did not want to do law. She wanted to do architectural engineering. In fact, that's what she started out doing. Like one of her brothers had done architectural. One of her brothers had done architectural engineering done at Hampton University. And so she was in the city. She was in New York. She didn't leave. She went to City College, and then she started doing the architectural engineering. And I was trying to, and I, saying, Lauren, the law practice is here, and I could use the help and all of that, and and she was very reliable, and yes, more even reliable than her older brother. And then eventually she switched from architectural engineering to law, and she completed, and she's a lawyer today as well, as my eldest son. And the three of us worked together for a while. And then, but my eldest, my oldest son, he's on his own now. He does his own thing up in Westchester, where he lives. And my daughter continues to work with me. And let me tell you, she is my right arm. I could not do what I do without her. She is such a strength to me. I can travel and be away for months, and she can run that practice. You understand? But while I'm away, I'm still engaged. When I'm away in Ghana, I'm still engaged because I will do work, especially brief writing or do affidavits or things like that. And in furtherance of the work, I continue to work even when I'm away. But I'm saying she is a. Let me tell you, I don't know what I did in my previous life to have gotten a daughter like her who's been so helpful to me, so helpful. The practice has grown under her stewardship. It has grown. It's more than I could have done on my own. And she's focused. She's organized. She is disciplined. She is bright. She's astute. She's sharp. She's sharp. I'm telling you. And she opened up another whole demographic to us, of clients, and it has been very good. It has been very good for us.
Awesome. So what I heard is, it benefited you. It gave you more freedom.
Yes.
As a mother.
Yes.
And
as a wife.
As a wife too.
Yes, I get to travel. I have more control of my time. And listen to me, you're young, but when you get older, you're gonna realize that time is the most precious commodity.
Mm-hmm. Same. Yes, and also it's apparently your path as a lawyer and an entrepreneur inspired your children so much that they also followed your path and they were involved in law too. And I think that speaks a lot as far as the way children look up to their parents and the example that we set for them when we choose to be self-reliant, self-employed. It gives them a hope, or even just a relatable figure in their life that they can see being successful on their own endeavors, their own merits. So that's very positive, and I applaud you and congratulate you and your family for the success that you've had so far, and I hope that you will continue to be together and doing good work.
Thank you very much.
as a
But
black.
if you don't mind, I'd like to address the issue of in terms of success. I was speaking to a Bobo Shanti Empress earlier today, a very close sister of mine, and she has thought of she has retreated from from the the culture itself. She remains a Rasta woman, but she does not do much interacting with other Rasta members of the Rastafari community. She largely stays to herself with her children, and she said because there's too much negativity, there is too much there's just too much fighting, there's just too much ignorance also. Because I can tell you something, while I was going to law school, my husband came under a lot of fire. Bridget and Bridget would call him and say, oh, you have Empress Marina, oh, is Empress Marina going to law school? Every lawyer is a liar, every liar is a thief, and it's just that type of negativity, discouraging, education, higher education, and, Babylon education, white man system, and all of that. But we're living in the white man system, and we must find a way to navigate. So if you're saying that we cannot engage with the system, we must not engage with the system, but we do engage with the system. We just engage with the system at the lowest level. But we do engage. So if we're going to engage, let us engage. We're going to let us engage and engage in a way that is going to benefit us, that is going to be more profitable for us. And so there is this thing in Rastafari culture where it is almost sinful, it's sinful to be economically successful. And that's one of the reasons to why this sister was saying to me, because when she was going to nursing school, she had to hide. And she's not the only Bobo Shanti sister I knew who went to nursing school and had to hide, had to keep a low profile because it was frowned upon. It was more than frowned upon, Prophet Daniel. It was condemned. And so we need to get that out of the culture because it has not served us well. But that mindset continues to be there. Although I believe that it may be retreating somewhat, but not at a fast enough pace. And we need to get that out of the culture because it is harming us. When I ask my daughter, why is it that the young people are not, coming into the culture or not staying into the culture? She said to me, because nobody's in a hurry to be poor, nobody to embrace poverty. That's what she said to me. Nobody's in a hurry to embrace poverty. Why would I want to be in a culture that demonizes education and punishes economic success? And I mean, I cannot fault her for saying that, because what are you selling? What are you selling? Poverty and deprivation? Are you trying to romanticize it as though that is something good and that it is bad to be economically independent? How can you help your race? How can you help the people in your culture? How can you take care of yourself and take care of your community if you are not in a position to economic position to do so? And if you find yourself with the means, with the wherewithal to earn money, then you should take advantage of that. You're not doing anything that is harmful to the society, right? Or to any individual. And and so I don't understand it. There is a dichotomy. There is a disconnect between between our I don't know, our philosophy, our culture, and then there's a disconnect because it's perplexing. It is baffling. How do we expect to progress? How do we expect to help our people if we don't even have the financial means to do so, right? Where we live in Ghana, we live in the eastern region in a town called Somania. And when our neighbors, if it's late night and any of our neighbors take ill, we're one of the few people with reliable transportation. They come to us, they come knocking at our door. And we have to, my husband has to get up and drive over to the hospital. And that is what it means to have, talk about communal living. But how are you going to do that if you don't have the means? If you don't own a vehicle, and even if you own a vehicle, you don't have the money to put petrol in your vehicle to drive people to the hospital. Because let me tell you something, petrol costs in Ghana because places are usually far away, very far away, long driving. And the people who are asking you to do them a favor, generally they don't have the money to put the petrol in your car. So you have to bear the cost. And they quite frankly, they expect you to. You're coming from the West.
Yeah.
You understand? And
Hmm.
so to be a good neighbor, you need to put yourself in a position where you can be of some assistance, because that's one of the qualities, that's one of the things that they're looking for. Why should we open our doors and welcome, you know, our brothers and sisters coming back from the West? Although, when we get to that about, talking about repatriation, you'll realize that many of our African brothers and sisters, that it is a one-sided it is yes, it is not reciprocated. Or the feelings that we have about brotherhood and sisterhood and this family, reuniting, long last families, coming together and reuniting after hundreds of years apart. Some of them don't even know what slavery was. They will ask, well, why did you leave? And why did you stay so long? Why did you stay away so long? Because they are completely unaware. And that was one of the things that I found most alarming, was that they had no sense of history and what had happened to us. When I was, it was really, really quite, yes, it was quite surprising to me. It was quite
Uh,
surprising that they
the-
did not know the history, and then as a consequence, they don't share that same brotherly love thing with us. You know, my last sister has returned. My last brother has returned, and we're going to forge. We're going to reunite. They don't have that. They see us as an asset to them. They see us as people who can help them, who have better resources and can help them. That's how they see us. And so it's not so much of a brother sister thing as it is. But we have to teach them. And so yeah.
let's take a pin right there to seal up regarding entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Um, I would just want to give you an opportunity to share any advice that you would have for anyone out there who, also is thinking about becoming an entrepreneur. What, from your experiential knowledge and wisdom, what would you tell someone? What should they look for within themselves, and what should they expect, and how should they handle, whatever wise mind that you could share
Right.
that
Well,
that you think would have helped you when you were starting out.
first of all, the first thing is to know your area, right? Whatever discipline, whatever area you're going to, whether you're going to become a journalist, well, usually, journalists usually work for news organizations or something like that. But if you're going to start a business, let's say you're going to start a restaurant, right? So you have to know your stuff. You have to know the demographic, right? You have to get financing. Usually people will work and save and get their money together so they can, branch out and start up, open a business. Sometimes when you're starting a business, you may have to continue working. You have to continue working for the first 6 months, the first year to even 2 years. And then, maybe do your business in the evening, work during the day, have a day job or something like that. And then, you may have to hire someone to run the business during the daytime while you are out earning money someplace else, because you just don't have enough capital. You should also make sure that your credit is good, right? So that you can get bank loans. One advice, very good advice that which I think is which I think is good advice, is that you should apply for a line of credit. So even if you don't need money now, right? If you have all the money you need to start your business, you should still apply for a line of credit with the bank. You don't have to draw down on the money, but just have it there as a backup when you apply for it when you don't need it. Because when you need it, they're not going to give it to you. When you are in the red, when you are operating at a deficit, when you are, come upon hard times, and now you need a loan, you need a line of credit, and you go to the bank to apply for it, you won't get it. But when you don't need it, they'll give it to you. And so you're going to have it there in reserve. You don't draw down on it unless you need to. And if you need to, you do so to keep your business afloat. But you must also be prepared. You must know when to, Kenny Rogers has a song that know when to hold and know when to fold, right? You don't want to keep throwing good money after bad. So you need to, make an assessment. Maybe you need to, go for advice. They have, they have services, New York City, and I'm sure, major cities and towns, they have business, places where you can go and you can get free business advice. Or New York used to have something where older retired business people would offer advice to new people coming in, newcomer startup business, and tell them some of the pitfalls of a particular industry, and what to do and what to look for, and the type of resources, supporting resources that they need to have. You're going to work like the Dickens. You're going to work very hard, harder than you've ever worked when you start your own practice. But there's a great sense of satisfaction when you have, when your business starts doing well, when you start making a profit. There is a great sense of achievement and accomplishment that you feel.
All right. Yes, I will give thanks. Yeah, we, this is the African Liberation Network. I'm the host, Prophet Daniel, and we're here with the Honorable Empress Marina M. Blake. She's a lawyer. She owns her own law firm in New York, living, in New York and Ghana. Her kingman is in Ghana now, but she, is going to and fro for now. Yeah, she's a mother, grandmother, and we're just here reasoning, sealing up about entrepreneurship as a Black woman, as a Rastafari woman, but also, we're reasoning about repatriation, and that's where I would like to bring the conversation now. As a Rastafari, repatriation is one of the the foremost concepts, principles, goals, etc. of the movement. If it is a movement, that is where we're supposed to be moving to. And the culture now isn't always necessarily accurate in its perception and conception of what repatriation really is. Coming from a time where, not many people had gone to Africa to see it for themselves, and, the experience had not been had. But now, in 2023, we've had the year of return in Ghana, and then the following year was the year of, what was it, Empress?
Beyond the year of return.
Okay.
Beyond.
So yeah, so more and more of us are moving from the West to Africa, and so there's been a lot of mythical kind of concepts, and I would love if you could look into your memory bank and see if you can think of any myths that you had heard as a Rastafari coming up that, in your recent, experience as far as like, repatriating and everything. Have you learned that some of these things were not actually true? And if so, if you could just, dispel those myths with truth, I'll give you a freedom, think about it for a second if you need to.
Well, depending on your definition of milk and honey flow, I have not found Ghana to be that. I have not found the streets to be paved with gold, nor have I found it where we're just, drifting around and everything is fine. As I said, one of the more sobering realities for me was when I realized that my long lost brothers and sisters in Ghana were not waiting to welcome me the way I thought that they would have. Not only were they not waiting to welcome me in that way, but they were completely unaware of my experience in the West and the transatlantic slave trade and what we have been caused to endure in the West. They were not aware of it at all, and they are not aware of the brotherhood and the sisterhood between us. So you find that it's a one-sided love affair. But in time, it's going to take patience. We can open their eyes and let them know that our futures, our destinies are intertwined. And there's no us, we and them. It is all of us together, and that yes, our liberation, our freedom, our progress, the development, of Black people, it transcends geographical boundary. It transcends religion. It transcends political leanings. It transcends socio-economic class. It transcends all of those things. Education, levels of education. We are Black people, and we're suffering because we're Black. We're not suffering because we're Muslim. Suffering because we're Rastafari. suffering because we're Christians. We're suffering because we're Black. We're being persecuted because we're Black, right? We're not suffering because we are uneducated, or we don't have, enough. Well, partly because we don't have enough resources. We're poor, and we have been denied access to a lot of things. And in fact, have even had our own resources stolen from us by outsiders. People come to Africa, they they flex their muscles, they take over our resources, they control them to our own exclusion, right? And they're getting wealthy, very wealthy, of our resources while we're sitting there starving. Our children are starving. Our children are undereducated or not educated at all. People are, the housing conditions are not good. Sanitation, health, all of these things need need to be addressed in a big way, not on an individual, not on a small scale basis, but on a very wide scale. Because everywhere you go, if you go to Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, Ghana, wherever you go, the story is the same for the Black man. The story is the same. So we must recognize the similarities. We must recognize that our struggle is one struggle, and it's a struggle of Black people against the evil forces, known as white supremacy, and its cousin, because we get discriminated against by everyone, right? Not just white people, but the Chinese, the Asians, the Indians, Hispanic. Everybody believes that they can come and they can, spit on us. And one of the reasons why they use our skin color as a subterfuge, as a pretext, right? For for us, marginalizing us, for oppressing us. But they also use it to say that we're not hardworking, we're not high achievers, we don't accomplish. And so that's why I do not understand why Rastafari would take a position that actually furthers that stereotype, that would actually entrench, that you would sort of bear down, into that thought that we are not high achieving people. Because if you are opposed to people going to school, and if you're opposed to economic success, then I don't know what it is that you're promoting. You understand me? I understand. Yes, we when we first came up in Rastafari, we bond the system, right? Because we say it's an unjust system, it's a lopsided system, it's an oppressive system. But then we realize that we still have to engage with the system. And so we are constantly at the bottom. We can't take care of our elders. We can't feed them. We can't provide them with health care. We can't provide them with anything. And so then we must revisit, we must rethink our position, to say that this position has not served us well. So we need to reassess, right? We need to reassess and take a different approach, a more common sense approach, an approach that is more in line with our reality and what we need to do in order to change our very sad reality.
Yes, I give thanks. And as far as I've heard this in Bobo culture regarding migration scheme versus repatriation, is there what is a migration scheme? What is migration? Is there a difference between migration and repatriation? Is one better or worse than the other?
Well, I guess the common understanding of migration is that you pick up and you move from one place to another, right? Usually individually, or maybe a family, or a few families. When you talk about repatriation, you're talking about a whole race of people. You're talking about, and it is usually based on something very historic, such as our being taken away through the transatlantic slave trade. Millions of Black people, Black African people, ended up in the West, throughout the West. And so when you talk about repatriation, you're talking about a mass return of people who had been taken, right? Who had been taken out from their original land, their original home, and now they need to return, and they need to return in huge numbers. whereas migration contemplates individuals moving from one place to another, or even families, or a number of families, but in small numbers. Now, some people say that they're against that type of the migration, then quote unquote migration, which is what I have done and many others have done. It would be characterized as migration because this is not a government to government understanding with mass a movement of a massive amount of people. So right. So what I have done would be characterized as migration as opposed to repatriation. But I believe that we can't be so rigid. We cannot be so, yes, in our understanding of what needs to be done. We have to, once again, you have to re-examine your position from time to time to see if it is serving you, to see if it is getting you to your desired destination. And if it is not, you may have to tweak it. So some people may have to migrate in order to facilitate the repatriation of others, right? The first comers, they come in and they set the stage in a certain way. You develop good relationships with the host country, right? And then you help them to design laws and yes, policies to facilitate the return of a greater number of people, right? So because you cannot realistically, in our fantasy of what repatriation is, we would just get up and millions of us would just go into West Africa, wherever in West Africa, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Benin, Nigeria, Niger, whatever. But that is not practical. You cannot overrun a people's infrastructure. The infrastructure in these countries cannot facilitate a mass movement of people, a mass influx of people without tremendously damaging the economy and everything else, right? You can't bring in millions of people because you have to think about the water, right? Water, electricity, roads, bridges, schools, hospitals, right? How do you facilitate? How do you accommodate millions of people? Many African governments are struggling to provide for their own people. People meaning people born in those in those political areas, subdivision, countries, territories, whatever. They're struggling to provide for their own people. So how can they then invite in millions of others? Without harming, without completely breaking down their entire system, political, economic, social system, right? So right. So repatriation is going to require some amount of migration. Migration is probably the beginning stage of repatriation then, right? So some people should go in, people with with resources should go in, and as I said, forge relationships, open up doors, start dialogue, and sit down and devise plans and schemes and how this thing can how this thing can be accomplished, and why it is in our best interest for us to unite and to see ourselves as one people, because a united Black race is very, very powerful. Whereas if we remain divided and fragmented, it is not to our advantage, but to the advantage of those who seek to oppress us.
Yes, sir. Natural. Give thanks, Honorable. And following up that now, for those who seek to move or want to know more about moving to Africa, I know the eye has, moved to Ghana. Maybe you could answer this question. I know you could answer it for Ghana, but maybe you could also include any other African territories that you may have any information about. But the law of return now for someone who is a citizen of a Western country, whether it be America, Jamaica, Canada, anywhere, London, what's the legal
the official position
process? Well, yeah, that in the process as well.
Oh, well, it is somewhat, it's hodgepodge, because there is not one seamless way of nothing cohesive and has been put in place really to facilitate a mass return of diaspora to in Ghana, let us say in particular. There are various, pieces of, there's law on the books to, if a person wishes to become a Ghanaian citizen and what the criteria is, right? Similar to how the United States has a criteria when an alien wishes to become a U.S. citizen. There's an application process that you go through, and you gain it through naturalization, right? And so you satisfy whatever criteria it calls for. Now, what we have done is that we have tried to impress upon the government that we are not like everyone else. And because we're not like everyone else, we shouldn't be treated like everyone else. They haven't quite gotten there yet. They haven't quite, adopted that position just yet. But what they have done in the meantime, which is largely, it's more than symbolic. I'm not going to say it's symbolic, but about several hundred people from the diaspora have now been granted citizenship in Ghana. I am one of them, but it came through executive order of one or two presidents, two or maybe even three presidents. Three different administrations, and so there has been nothing legislatively, which is what we really want. We want something legislative rather than relying on executive orders, right? Relying on the kindness of the next president of Ghana, right? We want something legislative, something put in law, not something executive, which once that president leaves office, it has no further bearing. It is not binding on the next president. You understand? And in fact, the next president can simply cancel an executive order of a prior president. So we have to continue championing for legislative action to address the return of the historical diaspora back to the various countries in Africa. Yes, that is what we have to keep doing, because nothing of that sort has been done yet. As I said, it has only been taking place on a piecemeal basis, and not not anything legislative having been put in place or adopted to facilitate the return of, say, 5,000 people at one time, or 10,000 people. No, nothing of the sort. My lord, I think we may be experiencing some kind of a technical difficulty. Hello? I don't know. Let's see. Soft live stream. I don't know what's taking place. No, I'm not.
Blessed.
Yes, okay, you're back. I was just calling you because I don't know what
Yes.
happened.
Yeah, my device got too hot.
Oh,
Give thanks. Thank you for waiting. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for all of the viewers' patience as well. But I don't know. Did you finish answering the question, Honorable?
I did.
All
I
right,
did.
give thanks. Well, all right, continuing then. So now when someone or a family moves, if they're considering moving to Ghana now, economics, what is it that one should look to do in Africa? Should they be looking to be an entrepreneur? Should they be going to look for work, like find a job, or what? And maybe it's not an either or. Maybe it's a all. Whatever fits. But from your experience and from what you know, what would you recommend? For an individual or a family that's interested in moving to Ghana or Africa in general to support themselves.
All right. So it's a long-term plan. I've heard people say that they're going to just get up and go, and it's a one move, and they'll never come back. I advise against that. That is not a very mature or practical way to approach repatriation. It's going to take years of planning. You're going to work, you're going to save, you're going to invest, you're going to get your money up. Africa is not as cheap as you think. There may be some, obviously, not everywhere is as, not equally costly. But I can tell you that Ghana, right now, the rate of inflation is about 43%. That is crazy. But the price of everything is elevated. I don't know, sometimes I don't know how people manage, but a lot of people are not managing. And when I say that, I mean even us from the diaspora. There are many people living in Ghana from the diaspora who are struggling, absolutely struggling. Some people, may not even have a place to live, a place of their own to live. So that is why you're going to need to, make concrete plans. So if Ghana is your destination, for example, you're going to need someone on the ground in Ghana to guide you. You're going to need, because you're going to need help. When you go to Ghana, you're going to need a place to stay. You're going to need somebody with a vehicle who can take you around. And it is going to be a process and not a single event. As I said, you're going to make several trips. What I would also want to recommend and suggest is that people should probably try to move in not just individual families, but maybe form a coalition, maybe about 3-4 families together. Pool your resources, maybe secure land, where everyone can have their own parcel of land, or based on their contribution, and and in this way you'll be able to save money, right? Or some people go ahead, generally usually the man, to sort of clear a way, make a way, right? If you're going to want to secure the land, you're going to want to start building something, some kind of temporary shelter, right, to stay while you construct your proper house. So you're going to find that it takes much more money than you realize. It takes much more money, and that's why it can't just be left to individuals. In terms of repatriation, it can't be an individual thing, because most individuals who would want to repatriate are without the means to do so.
Could you give us a ballpark figure of when you say how much finances one would need to really spend to make that move? I mean, I know it's going to vary, but
yes, because it depends on how you want to live, how you expect to live, right?
Yeah.
If you are content to live like my husband, he would be happy. He can live in a hut. He can live in a hut in the woods and roast yam and roast plantain and smoke his pipe, and he's happy. You understand?
Yes,
And play his drums when he's ready. But I require a little more.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm not such a good bush dweller as he is, so I require some more creature comfort. And so you're going to need a vehicle. That is one of the things. Now, people survive without vehicles. I mean, I live in New York. I don't have a vehicle. right? But New York is different. New York is have strong, very good public transportation, right? Subway and buses. Then you can jump into a Uber or whatever other kind of those vehicles, those rental, those services, car services, right? But Ghana is not so. You're going if you have to rely on public transportation in Ghana, you are not going to get as much done as you could have gotten done if you had your own vehicle. Moreover, public transportation is not always safe. It is not always safe, and you will find yourself sharing, space with people who don't practice the same hygiene the same way that you do. And when you are in a bus with that type of in hot weather, it does not make for the most comfortable ride. You may also find yourself riding with livestock, chicken, sheep, that people will bring on the bus. So if you are, if you have no aversion to those things, and if you'll be fine. I, on the other hand, I don't. I know I am. That is yes, that is more than I can bear. So I made sure that I had a vehicle. And for years, my husband had a farm truck because we do have a farm. We plant rice, we plant corn, we plant we have callaloo, we have a few other things, tomatoes, onions, and stuff like that. We don't really sell anything. We use it mostly for our own consumption. Although sometimes we share with our neighbors, right? So yeah, we do have a farm. So my husband has a farm vehicle. We had an old Mercedes Benz that we've been had for years. And then one day one of my sons said to me, Mom, this is not good. He said, this is actually embarrassing. He said to me, the terminology that he used, he says, when people invite you someplace, I mean, and you and daddy show up in this sort of like old vehicle. He says, no, he says, you gotta pull up respectful. And I said, pull up respectful. So I said, okay, since I've been pulling up disrespectfully, I didn't realize that. So I said, all right, let's, we're going to buy a car. My husband actually was like, why? We have one already. But then I said, he's satisfied with little, but it doesn't take much, right? And so I said, let us buy the Ghana-made car. Let us support the local industry, right? So there is the Kantanka that is a Ghana-made car. And so that's what we did. We bought the Kantanka. And it's a rugged car. It's a pickup, right? It's a rugged car. And, it can handle Ghana roads. And let me tell you, the Ghana roads are rough. It will destroy your vehicle. You'll be changing tires all the time. You have all sorts of repairs to do on your car because the roads are so rough. Mm-hmm. So yes, yeah, you're definitely going to need a vehicle. And as I said, you're going to need to, forge a relationship with people who have already repatriated, who can, guide you and also help you. You may need a place to stay. You may need to use the people's vehicles. You understand me? To get you up and down and to get your business accomplished. So it is not an easy transition at all. It is not. And as I said, it's costly. More costly than you think. Once again, it is kind of hard for me to put a figure on it because it depends on what you want to do, where you want to live, how much land you want, so forth and so on. Yeah. But a vehicle is very good.
Well, all right. So like for a family, then like if they want just an acre or two, how much are they looking at possibly spending? You have any idea that you could?
Well, right. Once again, it's just like here in the United States, right? It's a location, right? So if you want, if you want a brownstone in Harlem, you're gonna pay a couple $1 million even for a gutted out brownstone. You're gonna pay upward of of $1 million for a gutted out brownstone in Harlem, New York, right? However, if you're going to Alabama, you may be able to get a nice 3-bedroom house, maybe for $200,000, maybe 175, 180. So just like in Ghana, if you want, if you're out of the city is always going to be more. But even outside of the city, there are other areas that are quite expensive, and the Aburi Mountain is one such place. And then there's Mamfe, which is yeah, it's another mountain range, which is on the backside of the of Aburi. So land around there, the prices have gone up because the more of us who come in, is we drive up the price. We drive up the price. So yes, so it is difficult for me to say no exactly how much you could get a plot of land for. It is very, very difficult to say. But what
Okay.
I know is that a brethren told me that he had recently, about a year, 2 years ago, that he had looked at one plot of land up in Aburi, and it was going for 6,000 US dollars for one plot of land. That is absolutely madness.
Oh, really? That's high?
That's high. One
Hmm.
plot, not 1 acre, it's one plot, and they divide one acre divided into 4 plots. And some people
Okay.
even try to add, some people even try to divide it into 5 plots if they can. You
Hmm.
understand?
Yes.
So yes, that is quite expensive. That's quite expensive. When we
Okay.
bought our land, we bought in Mamfi, and it was nothing like that. It was back in 2004. Yeah, I think it was 2004 we bought Mamfi. Yes. And we also have some beach property in 2 different places. And yeah, as I said, because it was years ago, 15, 20 years ago. So prices were much different than they are now. But Aburi Mountain is quite expensive. Quite
Okay.
expensive. Yeah. But a lot of us like it because you like the elevation. It gets quite cool up there, and so it's not as hot as the down in the valley, the lower section. And then there are other places too. Beach that is expensive. Yes, several other places. Beachfront property too now it's hard to find. So yes, things can get really quite costly. And by the time you start talking about building, buying material, pay, getting a contractor and all of that, talking about thousands and thousands of dollars, right? I
Okay.
do not know if it's possible to build for less than 50,000, but maybe,
Hmm.
maybe you can. It depends once again where you're building and how big of a structure you're looking at. But if you're looking at a big house, say 4 or 5 bedrooms, yeah, you're going to spend some money.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. And all right, so now when my phone went out, I don't know if I missed this, but did you reason about like what opportunities are available like for someone to like from an inside perspective, what do you think are like the best industries or businesses to start? If there's any that are not there that need to be there, would you advise, as far as like what should people come and maybe try to get into that might be lucrative?
Right. So there are some franchise opportunities that are available in Ghana, but from companies that are here in the West, but nothing that I and I usually that kind of business that I and I would go into. I find that most of the merchants in Ghana are foreigners. They are Lebanese, they are Indian, they are white people, but most Lebanese and Indians, they are the ones who control the major industries in Ghana. You
Okay.
tell them fine, you understand me? Ghanaians are entrepreneurs too, but they have a small scale shop on the roadside. When you're talking about like, for example, what is it, Melcom? There's a company called Melcom. It's like a haberdashery, and they sell household goods and things like that, kitchen supplies and bathroom supplies and even groceries. They sell a number of a wide range of things, and they're owned by they're owned by Indians. And you find that the Indians and the Chinese and those people, the Lebanese, the Middle Easterners, they tend to stick together. They own the furniture companies, they own the car dealerships, they own most of the big industries because we generally don't have the money to go into those type of businesses. Moreover, they are more inclined to work with each other, pool their resources and work with each other in a way that we seem unprepared, we seem unwilling to do. So we are hurting ourselves. We are hurting ourselves. So if we want to be able to get into large industries, we're going to have to come together and pool our resources so that we can start to make an impact, a real financial impact in the economy. And in this way, we'll be more appreciated by the government. and they are more likely to try to, invite us to take part, well, extend certain privileges and courtesies to us if we show them that we have some economic power and economic strength. Because that's one of the things that they complain about with us, right? That we have no money and that we want everything for free. We do not come in an impactful way, the way the other people do. And once again, when we try to make the argument that we are not like other people, our situation is unique, they have very little patience for that argument. It is not holding. It's not holding sway with them. Yeah. So I see where we're having some technical difficulties again, and that you may not be able to hear me. The audience may not be able to hear me. Yeah. All right. Okay, we're back on. Although I'm not sure you're hearing me just yet, because your screen seems frozen. All right. Let me see. Are we back? Okay. Let's see. Are we back? Not quite.
Blessed love, can you hear me, Empress?
No, I'm hearing you, although I'm not seeing you, but yes,
All right.
I'm hearing you now.
Okay, give thanks. Did you seal up with the answer of that question?
I did, but I'm not sure that I was audible. I don't know.
I think it was. I think my phone is giving me an issue, but yours is still going, and the live stream is still live, okay. So all is well. All right. So now I would ask, what ways do you see that Rastafari could be more helpful in not only, the repatriation movement, but also just in Africa? What ways could Rastafari be of service and be, solution to some of the problems that you see there?
Right. Well, we're going to have to exercise patience, because what you're going to find is that people are very much Christian, right? Okay. Especially Ghana. I mean, obviously there are Muslims in Ghana as well, but by far Christians are the large majority, and so they're not. They listen to me. It's a even more venal type of Christianity than Black people practice in the West. The type of Christianity that Black people practice in America is a much more along the line of liberation theology. There it is just dogma. It is just a belief in the Bible and what the white man says, right? They believe that God is white. They believe that white is purity, that it represents purity, it represents goodness, that Black is something bad, that Black is something negative. So it is a very pernicious type of Christianity, the old-fashioned type of Christianity that some Jamaicans used to practice back in the day. And that is very worrying, very worrisome. And because of that, we are unable to make the strides that we would like to make. But but the Rastafari message, it reaches the young people obviously more than the older people, and it reaches brethren more than it does females. It reaches the males more than females, and so we just have to keep chipping away. But we must also bring our own behavior in line. We must behave in a way that is that exemplifies what we say we are, what we're, because oftentimes there's a disconnect between the what is professed and what is practiced. And we have certainly done some left some negative impressions that people are not impressed with. You understand? And we need to clean that up. I'm telling you, Prophet Daniel, sometimes we are the worst advertisers of our product. We also cannot we cannot be against education and schooling. That practice is not going to fly. We can't be against entrepreneurship, right? Because the people, a lot of them are entrepreneurs, small farmers. The women, they buy and sell at the market. A lot of women, they have shops, and or they roast plantain. They'll roast corn and sell by the wayside. They'll grill fish. So these are people who are entrepreneurial in mind, and spirit. So we can't leak out against that. And this is where now our 21-day principle runs head on into the Ghanaian culture, where the women are really hard workers, and could never adhere to a 21-day principle, because their entire economy would fall apart. The entire family structure would fall apart. So we have to be careful, and we have to be wise. We have to be wise. You cannot go in and try to enforce and impose a certain belief, ideology, or practice on a people when their entire their framework, their economic framework, their social framework, familial framework, right? It's built on a different system, and you go in and you want to impose that, then you're advocating for the collapse of their system. And so in that regard, we have to be very careful. And listen to me, the brethren, they're not finding many takers for the 21 days principle. So there.
Mm-hmm.
They're not finding many takers at all.
All right. Well, give thanks. Yes, is there any points that you wanted to get across while you have the floor? Anything that you wanted to share with the audience regarding repatriation or entrepreneurship? Anything that you have in mind?
Well, I would like to encourage, families, right? So, I don't know, in every family you have one person who's better with the money, handling the money, than others. Most of the times I find that it is the empresses who are better with handling the finances than the brethren, right? We are more likely to save and, put something aside and not spend, everything. The more frugal in our money management. And so, every family must make a decision as to who's better at handling the money. I am better at handling the money in my family, and so for the most part, I handle the money, along with the assistance of my daughter, because I just find that we're just better. We're just better than the male, right? In doing that. So you must figure out in your family, the dynamic, who is better at handling the money, and let that person give that person, a certain amount of autonomy, right? So when you know how much money is coming in, how much from yourself, how much from the kingman, and how it's going to be spent. Obviously, you have your budget to what you need to live. Then you must squirrel something away, but don't pay out all of your bills, and then if anything is left over, you save it. No, that's not how saving works. You peel off the saving from the top. So if you make $100 a week, you must behave as though you only make $90 a week or 95, because you don't account to 5, because that is going automatic saving. I advise people, if you have a direct deposit, your paycheck is directly deposited in your bank account. You should set up a system where they take a certain amount every time a paycheck is deposited in your checking account. You take a certain amount and you put it in your saving. You have them transfer it, whether weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, however. And so you build a saving, in a little way. For the empresses in the house, I would also say encourage you save quarters, save your coins. Save your coins, but also if you can afford to, save $1 a day. I learned this system from a financial guru years ago about saving. She said start with $1 a day. Get a little box, get a little thing, just drop $1 a day. It's a habit you're building. $1, $1, $1, $1. And just don't watch it, right? Just drop your $1 every day, and you have a little calendar, you mark it off. you drop your dollar, and then obviously $365 you will have at the end of a year. But if you do $2, then it is double that. If you do $5 a day, then obviously it's more, or $10 a day, $20 a day, whatever you can afford. But don't let the fact, if it's a quarter, if you can only save 1/4 every day, then do it. Start. It's a habit you're trying to develop, right? When you have your children, try to take out life insurance on your children, because that life insurance can become an asset, will be an asset to them when they turn 21, 25, 30 years old, whatever, 35, right? They can borrow from their life insurance. I recommend, there is a black man by the name of Dr. Boyce Watkins, and he has something known as the Black Business School, and he teaches financial literacy to Black people, and he even has something that teaches financial literacy to children, young children, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. Start to teach them how about money. You understand? The Jews teach their children about money from a very early age. You understand? They teach them about business, about becoming merchants, about conducting business. And so we need to start doing that with our children so that we can move out of the class of being just consumers and become, entrepreneurs, become investors, become homeowners, become, we need to start, we need to, save more and spend less. We are a consumer class, and we've been forced into that position. We've been forced into, consumerism and been discouraged. All sorts of obstacles have been set up, right, to keep us from becoming entrepreneurs, because they want to keep us as a consumer class. And the young people, a lot of times they fall for it. They get stuck on buying this type of Gucci bag or that type of Fendi this or that. We need to disabuse our children of that notion that those are things, those are important things. No, you need to save your money so that you can buy real estate, so that you can buy assets that will help you to make more money. Once again, there's nothing wrong with money. We must stop demonizing money. We must stop demonizing people who have money. But it is kind of weird because, if a man hustles and he makes good money from hustling, we don't seem to mind. But if a person goes to school and takes up a profession and they make money, somehow we demonize that person. And so we need to sit down and we need to examine and re-examine our position. We have taken some positions that were taken 50 years ago that are no longer relevant, that they no longer serve us. And in fact, they never served us. But we now know more than ever that they have not served us, because we have now become, senior citizens, and we can't take care of ourselves. We don't have any money. Our elders are suffering. They can't find food to eat. They can't afford medical care because the proper provisions were not made, and we were not encouraged to achieve economic success, to go after, economic independence and economic success. No, those things were discouraged. And the thing is that, being upright and righteous is not, the two things are not mutually exclusive. You can be successful economically and still be upright and still be righteous, because poverty is not, I don't know, it is not a prerequisite for righteousness. Righteousness, in fact, flourishes better in an environment where people don't feel deprived and have to go cheat, with my neighbor, have to go do this, have to go, do things for money just to survive, so the economic independence is important. And you start out, as I said, learn to save, start reading books rather than us gossiping and tearing each other down. Let us put our energy into supporting each other, supporting people who are striving. You understand? Support people who are striving and encourage them to do better, to do more, and then to do for their community. You have to be able to swim before you can try to save a drowning man. If you can't swim and you try to save a drowning man, both of you are going to go down. Both of you will drown. So you need to make yourself economically strong. Once again, I bring it back. I give a personal example. there was a brethren in Ghana who was sick, and he needed to go to the hospital in Accra every day. Now that's a 1 hour to an hour and a half drive every day, and then back again to his house. We had to do it. My husband had to do it. You understand me? And it was our expense because it was a Rasta man. He didn't have the money, and we had to do it. You understand me? And where does that money come from? Somebody has to work for it.
Mm-hmm.
Someone has to work for it. And so, once again, we have this naive, I don't know where that comes from, because I grew up in Jamaica, and what I knew that Jamaicans sort of had a pride in terms of, independence, economic independence, and hard work and industriousness. And I don't understand now this, like, there is just this, people are satisfied with having nothing. And they find that there's no shame in relying on somebody else, but there's a shame in working and providing for yourself. Hard work, they will discourage you. Oh, you're running down money. Oh, they're greedy. You want, pure money. They're talking about how they're into. Really? Well, I don't know. Money is required for most things. Money is required for most things. And once again, we need to get away from that thinking. Stop demonizing people who are working hard and using their money, not just for themselves, but to help their community. Listen, I stopped working for myself 25 years ago, and then I stopped working for my children 10 years ago. I am now working for my grandchildren, because that's what you're talking about. You're talking about generational wealth. We seem not to understand that. When I die, my children are going to be better off than me, right? Where I started, when I come into Rastafari, and then my grandchildren are even going to be better off than their parents. And that's the way it ought to be. Generational wealth. As Beyonce said, her grandchildren are rich already. You understand? And they haven't been born yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, her great-grandchildren are rich already. So my grandchildren are in a good position. So yeah, and so my great-grandchildren should be in an even better position when they are, when it's their time, when they're born. So we need to, we need to think long term. There is not just a poverty. There's a poverty of thinking too. It's not just poverty in terms of money. There's a poverty in our thinking, the way we think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're thinking that, oh, you have enough money, you can retire. Yes, if you choose to do so. Some people, retirement looks different for different people. Some people can just go to Ghana or to wherever they go and sit down for the rest of their lives, right? And a lot of the times they don't do anything productive, idle, gossip, tear down other people who are working, tearing down other people who are striving, tearing down other people who are trying to achieve. You understand? And so I don't need to be sitting down doing nothing. My brain is still good, and I want to use it. And I want to use it in a way that can benefit my children, my grandchildren, and my community. And so, once again, as I said, we need to stop shaming one another. If you choose to retire and sit down and not work anymore, then that's fine. But if somebody else chooses to work, that's also fine. And you shouldn't be setting bosom on them. You shouldn't be hoping that she dropped down, I hope she dropped down and don't live to see this. Listen to me, I'm building a house in Ghana up in the mountain. And if I don't live to see it, come to my children are there. I'm building it for my grandchildren even more than for my children. So they have a place, a nice place to start. And that is what we need to do. We need to be like the other races. As I said, the Chinese, they work and they sacrifice. They will live a joyless life, Prophet Daniel. They don't go to the movies. They don't go to dinner. They don't go to the theater. They do not go to Broadway. They don't go to the opera. They don't take vacations because they are working to send their children to Harvard University and MIT. You understand? Because they're doing it for their children and they're doing it for their race. They're doing it for their race. The Indians do the same thing. We need to make grand sacrifices for our children and grandchildren too, so that we can lift up the race. You understand? We have to start thinking about generational wealth. Generational wealth.
That brings up another question I have regarding land ownership in, I guess you could speak about Ghana for sure. As someone from the diaspora, even if you get citizenship, are you able to own land and like say pass it down to your children
Yes,
and stuff like
as a citizen in Ghana. Mhm. You
as a
can own
citizen?
right, yeah. You can own land outright in freehold estate, as they call it. Yeah.
All right. Yes, I will give thanks, Honorable Empress Marina, for your time. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know this is probably either your rest time or work time. So either way, it's a sacrifice. So we give thanks, that you would take the time to join us on the African Liberation Network and share your knowledge from your experience as a businesswoman, as a Rastafari woman, as a mom, as a grandmom, as a repatriate, all of these things, congratulations on all, your successes in life. And, I hope that you...
And there have been some failures too. We had started an internet cafe in Ghana. And it went belly up. We spent a lot of money. We invested a lot of money in it, and it did not work out. It was great for the community. The entire community came out because we, Somalia, where we live, is not a metropolis, so to speak. So to have an internet cafe, it's a very busy town though. And to have such an internet cafe, people didn't have to travel to Accra anymore to get access to good internet service. But so we were trying to do good for the community as well as to make some investment, an investment, start a business. And it didn't last. It lasted about 4 or 5 years, and then we had to close it down because we lost a tremendous amount of money. Okay. We lost a tremendous amount of money, and that was largely because our workers were not trustworthy. They were not trustworthy, and once again, as I said, people see us as opportunities to make money, and not necessarily as a brother and sister, because the perception is that you can always return to the West and get more money. That is the way we are looked at. You can always go back to the West and get more. So it's not that great of a loss to you, and it's hurtful. It's hurtful, and it's not even the loss of the money, but it's the lack of the love and the and the loyalty, and it's very hurtful. And if you're not strong, it will break you. It will break you, and it may make you even bitter against the indigenous people.
All right. And well, thanks for sharing that. Thanks for being honest. Even though we tend to quote unquote romanticize or Africanize, I don't know, Africa and what repatriation will be like and living in Africa. It's good to know that. Yes, it's beautiful, but it's not all peaches and cream. It's comes with its thorns.
You're going to be tried. Your patience is going to be tested. You're going to be tried. You're going to cry. You're going to they're going to pack up and go. And some people have. Yeah. Some people have packed up and returned. Other people, have stuck it out and are doing better now. They've gotten over the hurdles. And some people are there by default because they can't come back. They have nothing to come back to. They've basically, they've cut off everyone in the West, family members and things like that. And so they have nowhere to return.
All right. Well, we're not trying to discourage anyone, just keeping it honest, Yeah.
We have to be frank. We have to be honest.
Yes, Well, again, much thanks, Honorable Empress Marina, for your time. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being with us. Thanks to all the viewers. Hopefully, this was inspiring and also informational as you prepare to make your way to Africa. Again, Mama Marina, give thanks again for your presence and your time. And you're always welcome on the African Liberation Network. And I'm sure we'll have you back again sometime soon for another topic of discussion.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel honored to be asked to for my opinion and to share my experiences. Yeah.
Well, it's a valued opinion and a valued experience. Give thanks, Honorable.
Yes.
See you next time. Blessed love.
Greetings, Empress Marina.
She's gone.
She's
He's
gone.
gone
Oh,
already. Well, give thanks,
greetings,
my Lord.
Honorable Prophet Daniel. Greetings.
Yes, Majesty. Blessed love, Honorable. Yeah, welcome. This is Honorable Priest Michael Harper, Honorable Priest Nappy, from, born in Jamaica still, but right now residing in Miami and very much active with the Miami branch of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress. Priest Nappy is also the owner of Mount Teman Roots, which, as he said, is the first, official roots drink, company registered in America. So, welcome, Honorable my Lord. Give thanks for life.
Greetings to the I and all your listeners. I am.
Oh, the eye is muted, my Lord. Unmute, Bubba. Priest, you have to unmute. Yeah, muted. Press the Bobo.
I'm not hearing you. A call was coming. I think Sister Marie was trying to, but I'll call her back in another time.
Okay. True.
Yes.
The eye was muted a little bit while you were speaking there, so I don't know if you want to repeat, what you said still.
Yes. I said thank you very much for having me. And all your listeners. As I said again, I am Michael Harper, aka known as Priest Nappy. Been a member of the Congress since 1981. And and also the owner of Mount Teman Beverages that has been registered in Miami since 1987.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, my Lord. Glorify. Give thanks, Honorable. Thanks for being here with us. Thanks to all the listeners, the viewers, Today's topic of conversation has been entrepreneurship and repatriation, and so Honorable Priest Michael Harper, Honorable Priest Nappy, is an entrepreneur, as we have established, the owner of a successful Roots company. Roots, maybe not everybody knows what Roots is, but I'm sure the brethren can explain, what is Mount Teman and what is Roots, and just give us a little bit of information about the ICE company and, what you do.
Okay, so Roots is really barks and herbs that has been used for centuries for medicinal purposes, or basically a total body enhancement, natural herbs, because, we know that a lot of the over-the-counter medicines are things, they actually are based with roots, all manner of roots, plus other different pharmaceutical stuff, which is kind of harmful to your body. So we believe in go straight to the roots and the barks without the additional pharmaceutical stuff added to it, and believe in prevention is better than to cure. You should not wait to get sick to really start enhancing your body. It should be a continuous thing, year in, year out. So I incorporated roots in my diet, from a tender age.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that this was meant to be, basically for how it happened, the way it started per se, not even knowing the fullness of it, because as I said, started off, we went to Port Royal, which is a little place in Kingston, Jamaica, that my dad usually go. He had a fishing boat over there that is his enjoyment. So on the weekend, basically like Sunday, you will go fishing. So maybe like Saturday nights, me and my brothers, I was quite young. I had to be like about 11 years old, but I had 3-4 other brothers, because I had a huge family. So I will tag along with my brothers, and we will stay over on Port Royal overnight with the locals in Port Royal, which we knew pretty good, because my dad and their family go way back. So we'll stay there, and while we went to a party, and I tasted a drink. It's a wine, and they call that wine Sputnik, which I think it represented the first spaceship that went to space. So they call it Sputnik. And I tasted that, man, and that was so nice, sweet and nice, man. And I was taking my little sip, and here come my first day got drunk. I was like so drunk, man. They had to carry me over because we slept on the beach, Carry me, man. Two men had to carry me, and they were all laughing and stuff, but they're just hoping that I get better before my dad saw us in the morning. Because, yeah. So that was the first, startup, I would say, with the Roots Drink Company, and, that was 11 years old. I came to the US at 13 years old. I lived in Brooklyn for about maybe a year, and then I moved to the Bronx and lived in the Bronx for about 9 years. But within all of that time, I had friends of mine that would send me roots, and I will put it down and I will cure it. I would add my own things to it and keep it there and cure it. And when it came to celebration time, January 7th, well, those early days, we wasn't Bubble Shanty, it was just Rastafari. So like for July 23rd and November 2nd especially, I will take it to work. And I mean, the guys was overwhelmed that roots could taste like this. It wasn't like medicine tasted and bitter or nothing. It tastes like a nice wine. If most people know of Wincarnis wine or port wine, it's very similar because it sit down and we had things to it and cure it. So it became very pleasant and like a wine, like per se. So that is one of the things that I pride my roots drink off, and I didn't want it to be something that tastes like medicine. I wanted to have a pleasant taste that you could drink it like you're drinking, if you're drinking a beer or something like that.
Yes, sir.
That is all. Yes. So that is how I kind of fashioned my roots. And then, I went to Jamaica like around 1980, and I lived on the hills. But within all of that time, I went school. I did as much as an associate degree in marketing. And during my school years, I was always thinking about finding a product that is very new to the market. So I always kept my antennas up looking for that, not knowing that, when I went to the hills and I came back and live in Miami, we had to have gainful employment. And I didn't want to work for no one, and, because, it was very difficult. I didn't want to like break the Sabbath. I started keeping Sabbath before I even went to the hills in Jamaica. And it was something that I never break. It had to be like out of the way for me to really don't observe my Sabbath, And so I said the only way I could do that and keep that, maintain that lifestyle is having my own business, And so it is, I started doing a roots drink. I started selling it locally to the storekeepers down here, the Jamaican stores. And the response that I got was great, and from there I start bottling and driving up to New York and dropping off at different stores, bridges that I was familiar with while living there. And it just grew from there, and I opened a factory, but within the first 2 years started, there was an interruption, because the government said that you have to have a license. Back in those days, it was very difficult for someone to get a license to actually brew alcohol, and so we had a lot of run-ins with the law, for a couple of years. Well, at least 4 different times I had run in with them, until maybe like around 2009, 10, there was a company, I don't know if you know, kombucha.
Yeah, yes, sir.
In kombucha, they had the same kombucha had the same issue that we had because of fermentation.
Mm-hmm.
So the government actually created a law for kombucha, which they call it IRC beer. So we were able to get under those umbrellas same way because the same process that kombucha did is almost the same thing, with different ingredient, but it fermented and so they created a license it under that created says IRC beer. So we were able from 2010 on to acquire a license, being one of the only black brewery in South Florida when we opened up. I think maybe since then, maybe a couple more as came on the scene. But yeah, we had to get a brewery license and get state law, get federal law. I mean, we had to do the whole 9 yards. You pay taxes every 3 months to the federal government and every month to the state government, plus getting a license. Pretty costly, but my philosophy is, I will give unto Caesar what's due unto him. And so I don't have to be looking behind me. I mean, you're in there battling roots and come like you battle drugs or you do something. You never know when the authority will come in. So, as I said, from then we got a license. So we didn't, from then we haven't had no issue now with the authorities,
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So why did you decide to like register it and make it a official business? What was the benefit of doing that?
Well, as I said, every time that we started and really start getting good orders and start, different states, here come the authorities. So I didn't want to deal with that no more.
Okay.
And I said, and I mean, I actually tried from I first started to get my license, but it was very difficult. It's like, maybe you can just imagine now, like when, even with the marijuana industry, for someone to have a license, they are putting some stipulation as to have X amount of money in the bank and, X amount of this done. And, we just could not, small man couldn't fulfill a criteria like that. So it's basically the same way with the roots. It came down that, they did a cat to have our license. So that, as I said, you have to look behind your back. I mean, in anything you want to do, you don't want to be in, you want to make sure it's legal and straight. Less hassles, what I mean? I don't like go the crooked way, I mean? So, that's one of the reasons why we got the license, And I said it costs more, but at least it's a more peace of mind to know, you have no issue with them,
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And so, how long would you say it took before your company became, well, maybe from the beginning, I don't know, but were you able to like rely upon Mount Teeman Roots 100% from the beginning, or did it take a little while before you got to be like, self-reliant?
No, it took a little while. It took a real while before we, was really hand to mouth for at least 20 years.
Okay.
Easily.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing that I, did real estate I bought house and things like that too. So that helped me, when, when the downtime, with the roots.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. But no, within the last, I would say at least 7 years or more to 10 years, it's running really, really smooth and nice. You know what I mean? My orders are increasing and you know what I mean? I can pay the bills, the bottle, everything on time. I mean, just running pretty good now. But it took at least 20 years.
Yes.
to really get it going. I mean, I remember one time one of my lawyers looked at me and said, Michael, why don't you go get a job at Burger King? You keep you keep getting into problem with this thing here, man. Come on. But when but him down there was doing me the best of service when he even said that. I'm not the kind of person that you say something bad to and I'm gonna take it and feel like it's gonna. Nah, I'm gonna like prove you wrong. You know what I mean? So that was kind of my incentive to it also. You know what I mean? So keep trying and keep trying, and I mean that's what they says, and you got to keep rolling. And I mean it's only one product I make. One Mountain Man Roots. Everyone says you should do some other, but man, I mean that's all I do, man. And I try to do it the best way and perfect it. I mean, in the best that I can.
Yeah.
So it keep me busy and it support my family, and yes, it's running good now. Real good. Yes.
We'll give thanks for the eyes, persistence, and determination to not give up on your vision. From 20 years is for a family. 20 years can be a long time to like say. I mean, it's not. It is a sacrifice, but it's an investment. I would say more so to invest into a company that's a long time before you get to see the benefit, the profit, and so I give thanks. I mean, I personally have had Mount Teeman Roots, and I would definitely endorse it. It's a great product. It tastes nice, as he said, and even the energy that you get from it is definitely better, more clean than say like coffee or some of the caffeinated drinks and things like that. So how could people, or well, okay, before I ask that, do you distribute to, is there a limited area that you distribute to, or can
Oh,
people order it from anywhere?
no, yes, there's not a limited area. We have, distribution in, as I said, Florida, throughout Florida, New York, in Boston area, throughout the East, Atlanta. We have distributors in Houston, Texas, and we have distributor in California.
Okay. Are you looking to expand even more?
As much as it comes, I'm willing, whenever the orders come in, as much as they come, I will do it. Me and my guys, have a good force. It's mainly family and my brother, and, that we work together. Nice environment, what I mean? And whenever the orders come in, we make sure we do it, do it in a methodical way, make sure everything done properly.
Okay.
But we get it done, yes.
Well, give thanks. And so, to the viewers, if anyone is interested, how would they go about, like, say, placing an order to be either a distributor or even just a customer just to try it for themselves?
Well, the website is at info@mountteeman.com, and from there on, you can go on there and you can see ways to order.
Okay.
We really don't do a lot of like orders like that. We is mainly like distributors. Distributors, I mean, they will call in and they'll send in their orders. I'll send back to them when they'll be able to send their truck and pick it up. And that's how I do most of my orders.
Okay.
It's really like pallets and stuff go out. Yes.
Gotcha. All right. So not like you can't go online and order one bottle. You have to be ready.
Yeah, we have done that a couple of times, for customers in certain areas, that they can't get it, we'll do that. But usually I try to, whenever a customer call, I look for the nearest distributor in their area and link them up with them,
Okay.
And yeah, that's how most of my orders go, yeah.
All right, my Lord. Well, give thanks again, for sharing your story and your successes and your obstacles, challenges, and even how you overcame them, to still be in business to this point. So what advice would you give to, say, someone else who may be interested in becoming an entrepreneur?
it's a good thing. You know, I've never regretted it because, you know, I grew up with my dad working for, he was superintendent for road and works in Jamaica. He was, you know, was responsible for the roads in Eastern Kingston. And he worked for the government for 36 years. And I've never seen him miss a day from work yet. Never, ever, ever see him get up and say him not go work. And when he was about to retire, they like took over 5 years before they gave him pension.
Mm.
So I saw the hardship that he went through when you work for someone. And I decided that was part of me saying that, you know, I have to get my own business. It's difficult, you know, when you first start off, you know, and, you know, different business, you know, like mine's was a little difficult because of the product and trying to get it legitimized and get a license for it. But if you choose a business that you can get all of your licenses and everything, and I mean, it wouldn't be as difficult as what I face,
Okay.
you know. And you know, you just have to make sure you have good business sense. You know, you have to make sure, you know, I mean, whenever the money comes in, or make sure you spend it properly. And you know, the first thing I've always done. I mean, I didn't do it like conventionally how they teach at school sometimes too. I usually like because I was working with family. I was the last to get paid. I never pay myself first. And what part time I never even get paid. But because I had another doing with the housing situation, you know, I can, you know, that kind of help balance me off too, you know what I mean? But I make sure my workers them get paid first thing first. And then, you know, you make sure you pay, get back all your supplies and everything for the next coming orders and thing like that until you can build up credit with the bottling company, and you know you can take X amount, and then within a month or whatever, you know, you pay them off and things like that, you know. But it's, you know, it's up and down. You know, when you can work for a person and you know you're gonna get your paycheck every week, you know, but then how far you can go, it's there's a limit to me still.
Yeah.
With entrepreneurship is unlimitless. You know, it's gonna be difficult in the start, but once you really get going, it's definitely the way to go. And especially if you're dealing with a business that is doing justice for the public. It's something that enhancing them, you know, make it even more fulfilling, you know? Yeah. Honorable Prophet Daniel, are we kind of stuck a little bit? I think it's freezing up. I'm not sure because I'm not hearing you. But I hope you can hear me. If you can hear me, this reason you said was with business entrepreneurship and also with repatriation. That's always been our plight and our cry, repatriation, you know. And I have been to the continent a couple of times. I've been to West Africa, Ivory Coast. I've been to Uganda. I've been to Rwanda. I think the first point of our first step that we need, if we're thinking about going over into Africa, is really finding a viable business to do. You know, a business that can help the locals and also give you back a return on your money. You know, I think it's a shock for a lot of ones when they go over because they think that once they reach Africa, that's it. But that's where the work begins, you know. And you have to make sure that you can find some kind of viable way to make an income while helping the local and the country itself, you know. Until then, you know, we're gonna have issue when we go over there. Um, I don't know if we are still online, Honorable Prophet Daniel, because I haven't heard you, but I am here for whatever further questions that needs to be asked. Or maybe we should shut down and come back in. All right, I will do that, Daniel. Honor, Honor Prophet Daniel, are we on yet? We have a brief interruption.
Yes, I.
Okay, I'm hearing you now. I just hear you. Yes.
Pardon me. I'm having some technical difficulties on this side, but thank you for sticking around. Thank you for, for if the viewers are still watching, thank you for your patience. Honorable Priest Nappy, thanks for waiting for me. But yeah, we can continue. Well, rolling right into the next part of the reasoning regarding Africa now. The eye has visited Africa. You could tell us, what countries you've been to. What was your perception? What was the feeling you got? What things did you know? What stood out to you, differently about Africa? And just kind of explain your experience in Africa and how it impacted you. Yeah, if you could turn on your video again too. You hearing me, Priest?
I'm hearing you. Are you hearing me?
Yes, now I am. I was asking if you could turn your video on.
But but I keep hearing like a repeat. I'm not sure. I'm trying to. Yes, I hear you. Can you hear me? Can
Yes,
you hear me?
Yes, I.
Video. I am trying to get to that, but I still not.
All right. Well, you can just go ahead and reason. It's okay. We'll if you can figure it out, then great. But if not, then just keep it moving.
All right. Okay. It keep recording over again, Honorable Prophet Daniel. But the question you. All right. Yes. All right. My experience. I have been to. I've been to Ivory Coast. I've been to Uganda, Rwanda, and also Ethiopia. Um, all of those places are kind of different, like West Africa is very flat to where I was in Ivory Coast. Uganda and Rwanda is very hilarious and fruitful. And I keep hearing the same thing repeated over and maybe because of technical difficulties, because I keep hearing the same thing.
Pretty snappy.
Oh, yes, my lord, because I yeah, so that's why I was allowing that for it to run off, you
Okay.
know. But um, people them are beautiful. I mean, Africa is a place that you really have to do your homework. It's not somewhere where you just. Yes, I'm hearing you. I think we're having technical difficulty. I am. Oh,
Yeah. Hmm. Can you hear me now, Priest?
yes, I'm hearing you. Can you hear me?
I'm hearing you clearly, and I have been the
Okay.
whole time. So if you want to
Okay, great.
just continue going through. I don't know what you're hearing on your side, but yeah, just try
Yes,
to.
I keep hearing everything that I says. I keep hearing it repeated back over again. But
Oh,
yes. So I said, Africa is just the place that you have to do your homework. You have to really know where you're going. Hello?
yes, I'm here. Go through, Priest.
Okay, my lad. Yes. So, um, yes. Are you hearing me, Priest Daniel, Prophet Daniel?
Yes,
All
God.
right. So, we started doing some work in Rwanda. You know, and then but most of the work is really done in Uganda. Because we adopted a school, or even partnership with a school over there, a school that has maybe like about 800 kids, and we partner with them. We help them out getting another cook, help them get a nurse on the property, and then also their water access was very limited. So when I came back to the US, I decided that I would want to try my best to finance and get a well dug on the property. So I found a well company, and I worked it out with them and I've been doing installment with them that every month I pay them a certain amount. Overall, that well, it usually running anywhere like about $3,500 to $4,000 to dig a well. It depends on where you are. Some places is less, but because the place is so hilarious, I mean, I guess they'll have to dig a little deeper for water. So that was successful, and it's just a joy to know that even when the city water get cut off, and it can go off for weeks, and you'll be surprised the places that these children would go for to get water. I mean, real muddy place, and that was one of the reasons why I really, really came back with that drive to really get them a well dug. So the well has been dug since, I will say, from maybe about eight 8 months or somewhere around there now, and it's working out pretty fine. So we were glad to get through with that project.
Hmm. Yes, I.
Mm.
What differences did you notice about, like, say, the people and the conditions in the places that you visited?
Well, I tell you, like in Rwanda, the Rwanda, is a smaller country, and I mean, they live pretty good. The people are very respectful. I mean, there are some beautiful houses there. And so Rwanda, the standard of living is pretty good in Rwanda. They are very structured. Uganda, You know, you have some nice houses also, and think what I think, you know, is more because it's bigger than Rwanda. It's harder to manage, you know. I think like that. But you know, Uganda, you know, a lot of fruit. I think is a fruit basket. I think they produce more fruit and vegetable. I think for one of the top producing fruit companies, fruit countries in Africa is Uganda. You
Okay.
know, so but the people, you know, the people of Uganda and Rwanda is almost the same people. You know what I mean? They are border. You know, they were one country one time. You know, back in the days before colonization. You know, but Ethiopia is pretty nice. I only spent a week there. It was during COVID time, so I wasn't able to go as much places I would love to go. You know,
Hmm.
but if I had to go, you know, I prefer to be in somewhere like in Uganda. I would, you know, Uganda is more, you know, the speed and the environment and the hills and the type of food that you get. You know, Uganda is pretty good.
Nice.
So, mhm.
Yeah, give thanks. Um, now, you spoke a little bit about charity that you've been involved in. Uh, have you looked into any investment opportunities as well?
Well, what we are actually doing now, you know, we are reaching out to you know, because we form an elder council. Yes. Are you hearing me, Daniel?
Yes, my lord. Go through, honorable.
Yes. So we form an elder council, and within forming the elder council, we contacted the different members in the different regions. And with contacting them, we see what they are doing, and we are trying to work on project. Like for instance, we are working with one of our members down in South Africa. They already have some land, and they were, you know, were able to get more land because we encourage them to for the church per se, and we are thinking about doing some project which we are working on right now. We are in the first phase of it and getting for the season to start maybe within the next month. You know, because you remember, you know, the seasons are different over there than here. So they are in a different, you know, one we are in the southern hemisphere and one on the northern hemisphere. When it's the new year over there, you know, we going into autumn over
Mm,
here. So
okay.
September now is when their new year begin and when they will actually start planting. You know, so we are getting ready for the planting season to come up in September, you know, getting all of the seeds together and, you know, the workers, them are there. So it's a project we're working on in South Africa. Hopefully down the line, you know, we can actually get machinery and, you know, but for the start, you know, we are just working with the locals there and with a member of the church there and his family and trying to get that project going, you know. Plus, as I said, um, we're working on some other projects in Ethiopia, but um, I will hold off on that for a moment until things more materialized, you know.
Yes, I truly
Yeah.
give thanks. I was just gonna ask, like as far as um, okay, the charity that you have, the experience that you've had as far as helping with the charity. Has there been any government protocols that you had to follow? Any obstacles, or challenges to be able to fulfill the work that you had, or the support that you had given towards, the digging of the well, and you
It
said you helped your
wasn't,
nurse and all of these other things. Yes, I.
you see, the thing about it, you know, is that it depends on who you know. And my empress, you know, has been working in Africa from in the 90s. So she have a lot of good connection there. So whenever, for instance, we did an outreach down in Ivory Coast, and we went on many different villages and did that outreach. And we carry a nurse from the US with us, and wherever we go, we'll always connect with a doctor at that hospital or in that region there, to help out on the mission. But because of the connection that we had, it wasn't too difficult. We have everything in place. It was well planned. We did at least maybe 7 different outreach, and hundreds of people and children that we attended to. You know what I mean?
Yes, I.
So it all depends on who you know, and because if you don't have the good connection, they will shut down things. Because everybody wants some payment. Everybody wants a little grease them palm and this and that. And I don't have no problem with that still, you know what I mean? But you don't want to make sure so that hinder the project at all. So you have to make sure you have the proper people them in place and link the right people. So whenever you go and doing what you're doing, everything is just a go and no hindrance.
Yes, I. That's like a recurring theme in this reasoning, that you just have to go about things the proper way, so that you don't have to watch behind you, as you said, and your thing can go through smoothly and not be shut down, and time and resources and money be wasted, Yeah. And so, yeah, this is really for the viewers and listeners to understand, as we look to Africa, what kind of things to expect, what to do and what not to do, as far as, whether it be investing in housing or whether it be charity or whatever the case may be, just to go about doing things the right way. So, give thanks for your experience and thank you for being here to share it with us. I would ask, is there any negative side or any, like bad things that have happened to you while working with the charitable organizations or individuals that you've been working with that maybe can kind of give some heads up to one of the ones that might be able to go about it differently?
The main thing is getting the right personnel.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have the right person whenever you're doing things. If you do have a clean-hearted person, and as I hear a little part of what Empress Marina was saying, people will take advantage of you. You know what I mean? So you have to have the proper people in place. So far, we have never had an issue with anything getting done over there, because mainly we are sending the money over to do the work and doing the things. It's not like we are doing a business where we are expecting back any funds right now. You know what I mean?
Yes, I.
So it's not like, so we haven't really experienced any bad taste. But I know it can be if you don't set your things properly with the proper personnel in line.
Oh,
I mean, anywhere you go, if you don't do it with the right people in mind, wherever you leave a loophole, people find a way to, what I mean?
yes.
Usually funnel funds, so, but I never really have that problem, what I'm saying is one of the main things that one have to know before them go to Africa, they have to know, get acclimated to what's going on there. They have to be very privy to exact area they're going into, the tribe that's there, if there's any kind of fraction going on in there. You have to be really know where you're going, because Africa is a place, because there is so much resource and wealth there. There's always seem to be a coup wanna happen somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yes, I.
Because of the colonialism and things. But I never had no problem going there, you know what I mean? Mainly because of who I am. I never have no fear going anywhere where I go. And coming from Jamaica and being in Jamaica and the climate in Jamaica, all of them other places is like a walk in the park compared to Jamaica. when I'm in Jamaica, I am more of a look and dip on my peas and clothes than when I'm there Africa. Africa, me dip on all the road sometime 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I go through some hills and there was never an ounce of fear. You know, I never felt like, you know what I mean, compromised at all. You know what I mean? Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Honor Prophet Daniel? Yes. Are you hearing me? Think we're having a little pause again.
Yeah, well, I'm here. Give thanks. Yeah, we just
Okay. Yes, I can hear you now, Honor Prophet.
yeah, give thanks, my Lord. Give thanks to the viewers still again for the patience having technical difficulties. Hopefully, by the next interview, we'll have this sorted out and we'll have
Sure. We
experience.
know how that go. Yes.
Well,
So,
did you seal up with your answer to the previous question, my Lord?
with pertaining to what you mean,
About advice,
oh no, as I said, with Africa, it's good. I don't believe you can go Africa one time and stay and that's it. You have to go back and forth. I think you'll have to go in, see what is needed, and see how you can fulfill a void.
see.
You know, in anywhere you go, I mean, you have to find viable ways to have an income. And, wherever you go, if you go there, you find that there's a void in something that you find that you can do a business in this area, you need to jump on it and start doing what you need to do. And, because that's it where I think most of our problem is we go African, don't find a way that we can help ourselves and help the country. You know what I mean? And that is what we need to do. You know, I am not sit down and waiting for reparation. I would have loved to see what we can do as a body of people to making this possible, because I think with us finding a viable business and working at it, we can be successful. We can be a good addition to the country, whichever country it is. And, and an addition to ourselves, and bring in ones and, build a community.
Yes, I. Well, yes, my Lord. Well, I don't know if there's anything else that the I wanted to use this, the forum, the platform for to express to, the viewers. But I'm looking to kind of bring it down, because one, the technical difficulties, I don't want it to end abruptly without us, closing properly. But also, it's the time, So if you, like I said, if there's anything you wanted to say regarding repatriation, entrepreneurship, uh, you know, charity in Africa, or anything for that matter, then I give you a freedom before we just seal up, my Lord.
Yes, yes, I understand. Yes. So, thanks again once more for the interview. It's a work in progress. Um, if it's nice, we make it nice. If it's bad, we make it bad. And I think for it to be nice, you have to do homework and going with a clean hands and a pure heart. I see the work and I see things stepping up nicely. I mean, I see things building in different parts. So it's a good move. I love going to Africa, and I can't wait the days when a lot of my family and us can be back home. 'Cause that is when I think we're really gonna see our truest potential. you know, but we have to be going back and forth because the West here is more viable economically. So we have to be still working with the West here and sending over, trying to build our thing over there, you know, find business, whatever it is, you know, but it's a constant progress and constant working and you know, and I love every minute of it. And I've never been disheartened or, you know, because I kind of understand Earth, you know, and I know I would love things to happen much faster, you know what I mean? But I know it don't work like that. And I just try to do as best as I can and leave the rest up to the Father for it to materialize, you know. So within all the works, I don't get frustrated because, you know, I don't allow myself to get frustrated. You know what I mean? As long as I know I put out what I can, wherever the chips fall, so be it. You know what I mean?
Yes, my Lord.
Yeah, so give thanks again once more, my Lord, for the moments. As I said, you know, whenever we do have that technical difficulty again, you know, we can, you know, can reason some more, you know. But give
Truly,
thanks
yes,
again for everything, my Lord, and all your listeners, and have a blessed day. Okay, my Lord.
yes, Honorable Priest Nappy, give thanks for your presence with us. Thanks for sharing your experience, your knowledge, your wisdom, and insight. You know, the purpose, the intention really is to one, inspire, you know, others to be, you know, become self-employed, to do for self, to look to Africa and do so with caution, with you know, a little bit of heads up, a little bit of warning, understanding of what you're going into. But definitely look to Africa. You know, that's the mission. You know, to repatriate, to move to Africa, and to help to develop the countries more and to make Africa a better place, a stronger place. You know, so that African people internationally can have a strong base, just like, you know, say the Chinese or, you know, other nations of people who, you know, who leave their home and go establish communities in other countries. They have a strong home, and that's why they're respected wherever they go, you know. And so Marcus Garvey vision was to really, you know, have Africa as that for us. So this conversation, this reasoning really is to help us to start thinking more along those lines, but not in a fantasy kind of way, in a very realistic and practical kind of way, you know. So the eye is a practical man, you know. Give thanks for the eye's, you know, persistence as far as being an entrepreneur and a Rastafari, you know, never giving up on your vision of how you want to live your life. And, you know, give thanks that you get to see the fruition, the manifestation of your vision in your lifetime, that, you know, you can make your money from your roots company and whatever other business and venture investments and ventures you have, and live your life and go to Africa and all of these things off of your own culture and your own effort, you know. That's it speaks volumes, you know, because yeah, it's not easy as a black person, as a Rastafari in the world we live in, to make a living for yourself, to be self-reliant. So we give thanks for every living example of success, a success story that's a light and hope to, you know, ones and ones who want to embark on that same path. So yes, Honorable Priest Nappy, give thanks again for your life work and your experience. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being here with us on the African Liberation Network. Give thanks for the vision of the Prophet, Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, you know, for us to look to Africa, to be self-reliant, you know, to work together, and all of the things that the eye has done in your life. You know, to me, it's that's Marcus Garvey's mission. So give thanks for keeping it alive. Yes, my Lord.
Give thanks
And
to my Lord and
yeah,
glorify.
my Lord. Thanks again for your
My
presence.
Lord, glorify. Have a blessed day, my Lord. Give thanks for the moments. Out
My
of
Lord.
love.
Love, love.
Peace.
Peace and
My
love.
Lord.
And to all the viewers, you know, I would, you know, give thanks for your presence here with us, and thanks for your patience through the technical difficulties and everything. But we're still here, and we will continue to, you know, find out what it is that we need to know to make our vision a reality. So stay tuned, to the African Liberation Network. If you're not subscribed already, subscribe and, set the notifications so that whenever we go live or release new footage, new content, that you'll get a notification and you can, be abreast of the information as it's fresh. Yeah. And, I just wish you all a great evening and, I'll strengthen our powers going forward. Ask God to continuously bless us all and, to make Africa free, Yeah, just said the white men have to come out of Africa, all evil must come out and we look towards building up the Africa that we want, Africa awaits its creators, as His Majesty has said. So let us, make it a manifestation, make it a reality through our own works, our will, our strength, and our power given to us by God, who lives and reigns in the hearts of our flesh. So without further ado, I'll seal up, give thanks again, and I'll talk to the items soon. Blessed love.